Eastenders Weekly, your one and only weekly podcast dedicated to EastEnders. This week we're going to be talking about episodes from the 12th to the 16th of February, so if you haven't seen them yet, what are you doing here? Go back, watch them, come back and listen to us. There will be spoilers ahead.
However, if you have watched them or have watched bits of them, here's a quick roundup of this week's events. So this week has been very much about Abbie Branning's funeral. Mm-hmm. It began with a lie to Max that Abbie's funeral had already taken place and that he wasn't invited. Initially devastated by the news, he took a step back and visited his eldest daughter, Lauren.
His only daughter, Lauren.
His now only daughter, Lauren. He asked Lauren about the funeral, but as his questions became more delving, Lauren leaked that it was a lie concocted by her mum and nan, Tanya and Cora, and that he was unwanted for the actual funeral on Friday. Vincent is running out of time to pay his debt to Aidan and rushed the sale of the Albert, albeit for a much lower price. Kim is suspicious of Vincent, and after a mammoth purchase online, Vincent finally revealed that he was broke to the tune of 6 figures, something I understand we'll be discussing a bit later.
Possibly. Did Vincent ever get the money back from Whitney from last year for buying a dog crate?
We should be discussing that later.
That could help.
That could help toward his 6-figure debt. Meanwhile, talking of which, Whitney is confused about her feelings for Halfway. Halfway left, but forgot to take his bag with him. So Whitney used that as an opportunity to get in touch with him and see if the love for each other was reciprocated, which upon Halfway's return was. Mm-hmm. After Max was eventually able to give his last farewell to his youngest daughter, we learned that he's named Abbie's daughter Abbie and vowed to get it right this time. And finally, at the very end, after some initial hints throughout the episode, Lauren has fallen out of love with Josh. And after Abbie's funeral, she walked off alone from the graveyard while Julia's theme had played.
What a lovely news roundup that was.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, what I have a few notes on about this week, because so much went on. Big storylines, funerals. I wanted to start with the biggest storyline, of Samosas with Masood and Kathy.
Well, I feel this is the seed of a storyline that's going to develop into a mighty oak of a love story.
Oh. So you think there's a romance for Masood?
I believe so. I think it's the same old trope that EastEnders likes to do. That is, they start off hating each other, then they start seeing nice little competitions, start seeing little things that they like about each other, and then eventually Masood will bed Kathy.
Right. So they had a little competition, didn't they? Because she doesn't like them selling foreign objects in the chip shop.
No, because it's a London chippy, and she doesn't want any of that foreign muck in her London chippy. But fair enough. I suppose it's her business. She can choose what she likes. But
actually Ian's business, isn't it?
But she's running it for Ian, while Ian or Adam Wood has a little break from the soap.
Well, he's in pantomime normally, isn't he? I think.
Does he? Does he do pantomime?
Yes.
Oh.
Him, Sharon, and Phil, I think, all do pantomime. That's why they disappear for a few months.
Every year?
Yeah.
How much do they get paid to do that?
Quite a lot.
I'm having a look.
And also, I wanted to talk about was Robbie and his health and safety warning to Max. Can you remember what this health and safety warning was on the market?
Oh yes, because Max had put down a wreath,
dangerous flowers.
Yes, in front of a gate or the fence to the garden in the centre of Albert Square.
No one was talking about health and safety of the door to the Vic roof.
Well, quite.
Nearly 3 casualties from the Branning family has been from the Vic roof,
and also it's been quite quick to get onto that roof as well. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry seems to be able to get onto the top of that roof, and they do.
So hopefully the health and safety officer will be looking into that more than the flowers.
Can I just quickly return to Adam Wood being a Panto?
Yes.
Because I've just Googled it, and he was in Swindon. He was in the Swindon doing a panto.
Oh, I thought you meant the pantomime was called Swindon.
No, yeah, well, I don't know. Not to disrespect Swindon, but I'm sure there's a few rogue characters in old Swindon town. But yes, he was doing a panto in Swindon.
That's why they always go missing this time of year.
Oh, right. He's no stranger to the stage. He made his panto debut in 1989 at the same theatre with Mother Goose. And he seems to like Swindon as well, because he did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in 2015.
Maybe he lives in Swindon.
I don't think... No, I think he must live in London, surely. If you work in EastEnders, you
I guess.
live in London. So there you go.
Yeah.
He's a regular on the old panto scene. And he played Captain Hook, so presumably it was Peter Pan, unless Captain Hook...
He played Peter Pan.
No, he played Captain Hook.
Oh, okay.
In Peter Pan. No, he could... No. No.
Forever.
Yeah. Forever young boy. Adam Woody. Well, to be fair, he will always be forever that young Bill kid from EastEnders, won't he? He will forever be young Ian Bill.
How's Ian's diabetes recently?
I don't know.
Now Jane's gone and left him.
To not monitor it, and Kathy's got full reign of his diet, one can only presume that he's eating all kinds of rubbish.
It's all gone downhill.
It's not doing very well at all, is he?
Back to EastEnders.
Sorry, it's just fascinating.
So we had Valentine's Day on a day before on a Tuesday.
Yes.
They missed Pancake Day. They didn't mention that.
Well,
That's always upsetting. Normally Valentine's is quite a fun episode. We've got Frank with his spinning bow tie with Pat in the past.
Yes.
We've had Sharon had multiple arguments about Dennis giving the wrong Valentine's card.
Oh.
This Valentine's, we had Kim trying to cook a meal for Vincent. Now, this ended up her in the Minute Mart trying to find a bit of meat. Halfway, at the same time, wanted to cook Whitney a meal. Now, they were both in the Minute Mart and there was one bit of meat left. The only shop in London.
With only one piece of chicken.
So
Yolandi needs to sort out her stock in the Minute Mart, doesn't she?
She does. Or Tesco or Waitrose or Sainsbury's need to get involved in Wolford.
No, they would never open a major chain. Remember they tried to do that? Adam, I keep calling him Adam.
How's Adam?
I know, I got Tanya syndrome. Ian tried to sell up the burger joint, didn't he? And for a major chain. I think it was a Minute Mart. I think it was a Minute Mart Metro or something like that. A Minute Mart Supercentre, where they sell like TVs on Black Friday to all the East End residents. And he didn't have a lot of luck with that. Most people seem to do their main weekly shop in the Minute Mart at increasingly costly value.
I mean, they've never showed Michelle's job since. They showed that for a bit. Her big department shop.
Oh yeah, she worked in a John Lewis style department store.
Is that where Sharon keeps going for her shopping trips?
When she keeps
for the
saying,
past 6 months.
I don't want to know anything about it. I'm going to go shopping. Maybe.
I mean, Sharon's been very quiet recently. I've got some notes about everyone's duff-duffs for the year. And Sharon's last duff-duff, so this is basically the last time she had a story, was last April 2017.
What, a full story?
Her face on a duff-duff.
Oh my goodness.
That's quite a long time.
That's a really long time.
You know, she's been busy. But she's had one duff-duff since, and that was when she admitted to Mel that she took the money under Phil's nose.
Yes. Well, that was
doesn't make much sense.
No.
But
it's been just dragging itself along, just that storyline from the
Well, I feel there'll be a murder mystery soon.
All right, who do you think
of the scary villain Aidan?
You think it'll be Aidan?
Aidan will be murdered. No one knows who. That's just my theory.
What, they're going to have all the people who were in the heist as contenders of Aidan's murder? So who would that be then? So that's Phil, Vincent, Keanu.
Lovely Keanu.
The beautiful Keanu. I feel that Keanu, he'll either be the biggest swerve of them all, him and Billy. Because, Billy's a good punt, actually, because if you think about it, Billy's lost a lot from that one storyline. He's lost his job, he's lost his wife because he...
Well, that was ridiculous.
But he's...
If only people talked normal sentences, none of this would happen.
Yes, but how boring would that be as a soap?
Yeah, it wouldn't be very soapy.
No, it wouldn't be very fun at all.
But, Mel could be in the murder mystery plot. Her and Sharon have just bought the club, so they could hide a body in the club, maybe.
Well, no, she's always owned the club, but she's asked Mel to run it for her. So that's...
Ben could come back.
Ben could come back, but I don't think he will. Actually, now you've mentioned the club and Mel, a lot of stuff happens at that club. A lot of murder. Maybe that's where they're down in R&R. Poor Ronnie and Roxy. May they swim in peace. But yeah, if I was going to do a bet right now, if I was going down the betting shop, I reckon Mel, because of the link to the club, and also Hunter, the stupidest name ever.
I still think another prediction is that Hunter isn't Steve's son.
What, biologically?
I think it might be Phil's, because Mel and Phil did sleep with each other a few months before she left. It doesn't quite add up, but EastEnders quite often they miss a year here and there sometimes to make a story. So I feel that could be what's happening.
I hope it's not. Phil's got so many babies from so many people. They could start a soap with just Phil's.
Now, so they need to bring the Mitchells back up to their count.
Yeah, but no, don't bring the Mitchells back up to their count. There's quite a few of them. There's Dennis, who's like an honourable Mitchell now. Like he's
always upstairs.
He's always having his biscuit. He's always kind of being hinted that he's going to be like something bad's going to happen with him. Travesty. He'll murder someone or something. Yeah, and he looks up to Phil. So you think that would be...
But he's too young.
He's young now, but then they give it time.
They're not thinking of the future, are they? Because they keep killing all of the young characters who have any hope for decent storylines.
But yeah, they're not looking into the future, are they? They're not looking at development. They're looking at the here and now and the Patrick playing chess storyline.
Joyce and Ted haven't been a success.
Well, Joyce and Ted were a strange couple, weren't they? Let's be honest. I don't think that there was ever... The way they were introduced was a bit lackluster.
Well, they got rid of Pam. Pam's desperate to come back. She's appeared about 5 times. She's done her Christmas advert on TV. Now she's ready to come back with Les.
But she left Les momentarily for Santa Claus, and then came back. Yeah, and came back recently.
Les and Pam back.
I'd like to see Les and Pam back. I think it was such a shame then they killed off Paul. I think that was such a good little storyline. And they
killed him off because Johnny was coming back.
Johnny.
With a great newly cast Johnny. And now he's left again after not having a storyline for 2 years.
Well, he was
just a spare part.
He was a spare part. It was just like throwing a wet sponge into the mix, wasn't it? And just watching it absorb.
So there's no Carter kids left, and appears halfway from shooting Mick to then living with them. Apparently he was an old family friend from the army.
Yeah, because he was friends with Lee. So they were both in the army together.
So Whitney's all loved up now.
Whitney likes the
same character.
The same character, yeah, every time.
3 times.
The kind of like lovable rogue drip thing. But yeah, well, no, he's gone away now for a little bit. So one would presume that there'd be a bit of a gap now, or he'll come back and Whitney will be like, I'm so glad you're back.
Oh, he left for one episode on like Tuesdays or Thursdays, then came back on Friday's episode.
But has the actor shown any hint or clue that he's returning, or
no?
Okay,
he hasn't.
But then that's the end of that.
I'm sure he'll just be a full-time character.
Yes, but I don't think it'll be straight away. I think it'll be it will happen, but it will happen in time, perhaps in the summer schedules when things go.
Everyone has their holidays.
Everyone has their holidays.
So with all that going on, we haven't even touched upon the goodbye, farewell to Abbie.
I know. Well, it's such a shame.
And Lauren, but more to be said about that in a minute.
Yes, well, quite.
So the funeral finally arrived about a month and a half after she died. So everyone seemed to have forgot about her. They were congering out of the pub. And now everyone's upset. So Donna's upset. Robbie has announced he cares about Abbie all of a sudden because he's her cousin. I'm not sure they had any scenes together since he came back. Sonia, her other cousin, was nowhere to be seen, so she doesn't care about Abbie.
She's busy with Martin and Stacey, isn't she?
Yes.
Sticking her nose in that.
So, what did you make of Abbie's goodbye?
I have to say, it was a nice funeral, and it was done without any kind of. They didn't try to move on any kind of plot with it. It was very much, this episode is mainly going to be about Abbie's funeral, with a few bits and pieces scattered around it, rather than this is being used as a vehicle, as a tool to actually progress another storyline. So almost like Abbie's death is just being used to move something else on.
A new era,
yeah. The new EastEnders era. So it was for Abbie, and they even said in the episode, oh, you know, we're actually, Abbie's the centre of attention. Like, she's always,
for the first time.
So
was she the centre of attention?
Well, see, because yes.
Max wasn't at the funeral because Tanya didn't want him to be there.
No.
Tanya wasn't at the funeral
because the actress didn't want to be there.
And I want to talk about how all of that was filmed in a bit, because it's quite interesting. Lauren was in there reluctantly, because last week when they turned her life support off, there was a character with Cora, Tanya's sister. Appeared.
Oh, right. Yes.
She wasn't there. Aunt Babe didn't come back.
I know.
I mean, I was expecting Aunt Babe to be at the back. There were some strange extras in the church, like a Chinese-led couple.
Yoko Ono decided to pay her respects.
It was, I don't quite know. And Donna looked at her, so I don't know if there is something about that. But
yes, we're not sure.
Really odd.
We're not sure whether there's, perhaps that is a moving on storyline.
Whitney wasn't at the funeral, even though it's her best friend's sister. She was too busy on the phone with Halfway making sandwiches.
She was doing the wake, wasn't she? She was organising.
But Tina could have done that by herself.
Well, it's quite a
so
big...
you say it's all about Abbie, but did anyone really bother?
Well, I think to the viewer...
Donna didn't go. Oh, she did go.
She did go eventually.
She had to be talked into it by Robbie.
Because she was so upset. So it wasn't that she was doing it out of her
Well, she hasn't been upset for a month. No one's mentioned poor Abbie. Now all of a sudden it's...
Well, she's been hiding from the bailiffs.
And painting roses.
And painting roses with spray paint. God,
one of the funniest lines was when everyone found out that she'd sold them painted roses. They were all coming after her in a mob after Donna and Robbie. As they were running away and Donna was in her speedy wheelchair, Robbie shouted out, "Quick, run."
Oh, Robbie, that's poor form.
I mean,
although
so I found that quite funny.
It's not that Donna couldn't get out of her wheelchair and run.
She can't run.
She could give it a damn good go, but she'd prefer to take her wheelchair, which is fair enough. I'd prefer to take my wheelchair too. But yes, that's a pretty poor thing to say. You'd think they'd spot that, wouldn't you? You'd think you'd spot something like that when they were filming it. Then when it got to the editing
maybe
room.
Robbie loves Donna so much he sees past her handicap. Let's go with that.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
PC. So we also had Jack, who wasn't at the funeral because he teleported to the hospital because he was worried Max would steal the baby because of what Cora said.
Yes.
Burst into the room, yelled at everyone before they could even say anything. Where's baby Branning?
Where's baby Branning?
Where is she?
But yes, let's quickly elaborate on that. He stormed into a hospital babies unit, which is straight away a strike in my book. Then he yelled at a nurse before she even had an opportunity to answer him. Where's baby Branning? She said nothing in return. You don't understand. This has been a very stressful time for me. And it's like, and then basically proceeded to shout until Max walked into the room with baby Branning, and then gave him to Jack, and then he disappeared and teleported his way to the church.
Is the funeral place and the hospital close?
It would make sense to have a church and a hospital close to one another.
I mean, it did take Abbie a month to get there, so it can't be that close.
Yes, true. Well, yes, there's many different stops, though, I'd imagine Abbie had to take from the deathbed to the coffin, the eventual resting place of Abbie Branning.
Also, what I wanted to talk about was Lauren's new storyline, which plucked out of nowhere, of her and Josh.
Yes, as I said in the roundup earlier, it was dropped in
that episode
at the beginning of the episode, while they were looking through photos to make a PowerPoint presentation ready for Abbie's Abbie's funeral.
She was using all the skills she learnt working for Wilmot Brown in the office to
All the
scan photos.
To scan photos.
She was a photographer for the company, apparently.
She's a web designer. I suppose she hasn't built a rest in peace Abbie website. Yeah.
GoFundMe
page for Max to pay for his alcoholism.
So that was all very odd. The fact that her and Josh were this lovely couple, he'd given up everything for her, to then all of a sudden he's boring and doesn't love her.
No. I still stand to what I said, and that is that it was Abbie's episode until it was hijacked at the very end by Lauren, but then maybe perhaps that's egg on our face. Perhaps that's a clever piece of writing by the producer and the writers. They knew that people would be thinking, "Oh, Lauren can't let this one lie on her sister's deathbed. She can't make it all about Abbie this last time." And so they realised that almost the viewers would expect the very last moments of EastEnders, Abbie's funeral, would be about Lauren.
Well, she got
hobbling
Julia's theme, which hasn't been used since Peggy died. That was the last time it was used. So Lorna, who played Abbie, she didn't get Julia's theme. She'd been in the show 10 years, I think.
Oh yeah, the original actress.
Yeah, and she's always played Abbie. Lauren has been recast about 3 times. She gets a Julia theme. Lorna was also left off of the end credits of last year. So I feel Abbie is very forgotten. It's not fair. Tanya didn't make it to the funeral. She was in the car.
Well, yes.
The filming, obviously, Joe Joyner's schedule has been hectic, so she's not been able to film as regularly as she wanted to. But it was quite funny watching the episode because you saw Tanya's feet in the car, and Cora was talking to her feet through the door. So there obviously wasn't an actress there. And then when...
Well, no, there was an actress. They wouldn't have
there
used
was an actress, but it wasn't Joe. And then inside the car, you had Tanya and Lauren talking, but every shot was separate. So they didn't film it at the same time.
Oh, do you not think? I thought that
there wasn't one time where you saw them both, but you only saw them hold each other's hands, but that could be anyone's hands. So I think obviously Joe Joyner just filmed that when she could and acted to no one. And the same for Lauren, because the actress who plays Lauren, she went back for filming like 2 weeks ago to do her last filming when she should have finished near Christmas.
Right.
So they obviously filmed that totally separately.
That's the problem though with schedules. And to be fair, that was...
I mean, I'm glad Tanya did appear.
Yeah, and it was done... I think it was done well. I have to admit, I didn't spot that it was done on 2 separate shots. I thought there was a couple of shots when they were together. No, there wasn't. So yeah, so I have to say it was done very well. And kudos to the actress. She acted it very well.
Well, it just goes to show
how good she was.
Moved on to big project. I think that's probably the last time we're going to see Tanya. I don't think she'll appear again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. The only way I can see her coming back is by doing a stupid storyline where she would come back with a new boyfriend, and then Max will start swerving his way through.
I think there's no Abbie, her and Max, nothing. There's nothing to come back. That's the end of the Brannings. I just think it's a shame that Max is still
Jack.
And Jack. Oh yeah,
the 2 remaining Brannings. Jack, shouty face.
But so the episode ended with Lauren walking straight past Josh. Didn't say anything, just walked off, and that's Lauren's last episode, so we're not seeing anything more of her. I don't know where she's planning to go, because she was moaning to Whitney she had no money. She had
Whitney was moaning she had no money, and she was moving up north at one point.
Well,
she was going up north to open a t-shirt shop because she learnt the art of printing things and then pressing them onto a t-shirt. She could make money. Good luck to her.
But with Lauren's ending, everyone thought, she might have a happy ending off in the sunset with Josh. It was kind of didn't really lead to anything. I mean, there's no reason she couldn't be in the soap still next week and living in Ian's house. Made me think, would it have been better if Lauren had died and Abbie was the one who lived
with Ian Beale?
Well, not lived with Ian Beale. She would have lived but still left. Would her exit have been a bit better than Lauren's?
Oh, well, so Abbie would leave too.
Yeah, they were both leaving either way. Yeah, both the sisters were.
But Abbie was
But if it was the other way round, if it was Lauren that died, would it have been better? Max would have been more upset. Would Tanya be grieving more? She was obviously the favourite daughter. Would Abbie have been able to leave with her baby and go?
I mean, with all the best intentions, I think the storyline had ended with Lauren and for Abbie. And I think...
do you not think Abbie had a lot more to give for a future return than what Lauren does?
For a future return, yes, but not for a while. But by future return, I wouldn't want her back for at least 3 years.
But I think having Abbie return would be a lot more exciting than Lauren.
Yeah, she could bring her kid back.
She's a much more interesting character.
10 years in a matter of 4, that kind of setup, and she could have. But like you were saying, the Brannings as a stock family are slowly dwindling numbers. As soon as one gets on board, then another one or two dies or leaves. So I would wait to see if Max was to stay on for a long time further.
Oh, he's just signed a year's contract.
Yeah, but that's only a year. And I think, to be honest with you, I think if I was the actor, Jake Wood, I would personally think to myself, I think this is my time's beginning to come to an end now. I think there's a natural life cycle for characters. There's always exceptions to the rule. Dot Branning, Ian Beale, but I think with all characters there's a natural life cycle. Although it would be lovely to say if Abbie had survived, perhaps then Max's storyline might have been a bit more revigored and it'd be a bit more interesting. I don't think it is. I think that family has come to an end. Can Max
really survive as a character? Like last
year,
he did
not at all.
Many bad things, one after another, each one worse. Like he killed Stephen.
He killed Stephen,
which everyone seems to have forgotten about. Tanya announced it Christmas Day to about 3 characters, and no one seems to care. He's killed Stephen. Once you kill someone, it's very difficult to get redemption.
But then he's done something. Some people could argue he's had his redemption, and that is he went to prison when he wasn't meant to go to prison for murder.
No, he has murdered.
the Bobby Beale.
I mean, when Ronnie had the storyline of the baby swap, lots of fans could never. It's just something you just can't forget. You always bring it back up.
Yeah.
And that's why, obviously, Ronnie eventually got her comeuppance from the executive producer. He said he wanted to give her comeuppance for murdering or killing that baby and swapping them and making someone else think that happened. And Ronnie also killed Fat Boy and Roxy's ex-boyfriend. I just don't see how Max can carry on as a character on the square after he's done so much wrong.
I agree with you, but I think Max is one of those. He's always seen as he's done more than just. I know murder is quite a big deal, but he also tried to sell up the square and get everyone evicted from the square and this, that, and the other, and obviously it's a very misguided direction that unfortunately had happened to the soap at the time. And I suppose you could say that Jake was the one who took the bullet for all the problems. All the rest of it's funny. All the rest of the members of that seem to have just gotten away with it. Seem to have just kind of fled off, and nothing seems to have really made much of it. I suppose it's because he's the one who's hanging around. He's the one who's not. He's the one who everyone's remembering, and they're kind of writing him to a point where we're meant to feel a bit sorry for him.
Well, they're giving him the mental health problems. They keep bringing that up.
Cora brought it up.
Yeah, so that was the end of Abbie, end of Lauren. That's all tied up. I think that's the storyline now ending all the way back from Lucy's murder. It's been a long storyline.
But what about the bins, Ben?
Well, the bins. What about the samosas?
What about the samosas? It's all about the samosas.
They were mentioned, the amount of times that I could write it down on when I was watching, minimum of 12 times they were mentioned as a whole scene, 12 scenes dedicated to samosas. That's quite a lot.
Perhaps they should change the intro sequence to like a spinning samosa that's just kind of slowly fading out.
But going forward for next week, obviously that's the Branning storyline finished. We had a new character appear last week. The girl, I think she was named Hayley, who was taking photos of Martin and Stacey fighting, and she also knocked on the door to Martin. What's her plan? Is she that who Stacey was talking to on the phone earlier about having a plan, or was she actually taking photos of Masood's uncle? Because it was at the same time Martin was arguing outside that Masood's uncle was there as well.
I'm leaning toward it being about Stacey and Martin in some form, but I want it to be about Masood's uncle, because I'd really love a nice, interesting storyline, because he's I really want a character where you start off really, 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 really growing to them and liking them, and then you find out there's a really dark secret about them,
because they're foster.
Exactly, they're foster.
Parents.
Not just the uncle, also the aunt. I'd love that. I'd love a bit of a breakdown in the unit somewhere, especially where they are likable. They're nice enough characters.
They've been really well introduced.
They've
Such
been
a contrast to how they've been introduced to Ted and Joyce.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Ted and Joyce have just very deliberately been kept away from the rest of the cast when they first started for a good time as well. Not just to introduce you to, because they did it. The new the Taylors. They were first of all introduced as individuals, but only for about a week or two. Then they were slowly intertwined into the rest of the cast.
They've been great.
They've been fantastic additions, and I love their stories. I'm really worried that they're tearing Keanu into a really dull character, and that's worrying, because he started off as such an interesting prospect. When he had the apprenticeship, I thought that was fascinating. He had the apprenticeship, and he thought he was going to get the job, and then he was let down, and he really broke down. Yeah, and that was really great.
Well, he won Best Newcomer this year at the Soap Awards.
Oh,
so that's always a good hint that he will
get a bit more storyline,
and he will carry on.
Yes,
because the same happened with Carmel, believe it or not, a few years ago, when she was a fantastic character when she came into it,
and now she's complaining about rainbow-coloured fences.
Yes, how dare they?
I know, how dare they paint their own fence?
Yes, obviously we've got that to look forward to in the coming weeks. So,
Masood and Kathy, the ongoing prospect, and Vincent and Kim. We've still got Vincent's storyline still hasn't quite wrapped up yet. We still need to see. Again, it could link to a murder storyline. Who murdered Aiden storyline. So we'll
find out soon next week.
So I think that yes, next week it should be interesting. I think that Max and the Branning storyline, anything Branning is going to be just pulled back a little bit now for a little while.
Yeah, the Brannings are quiet for a while, and we are moving on to Mel, Sharon, Aiden, and the heist. So thank you for listening this week.
Sharon.
Love Sharon. Don't forget to rate us, review us, listen to us. If you have any topics you want us to talk about on the shows, you can email us at eastendersweekly@gmail.com, and we will make time to answer any questions or to talk about topics you want to hear about. So thanks for listening.
Don't forget about Twitter as well. Follow us at Eastenders Week on Twitter, where we'll be doing updates as we watch EastEnders. Yes. And again,
live tweets.
Lots of live tweets.
Cool. So until next time, bye.
Bye-bye.